Hi, folks, and I've got a fantastic guest here today. He's Chris Thrall, and this is a man who's done absolutely everything. Ex Royal Marine Commando, ended up working in Hong Kong with the Triads. Now a spiritual man. Welcome to the show.
Liam, you make me sound good, mate. Thank you. You can teach my girlfriend a thing or two.
With a lot of these things, people always say, I want to go back to the beginning and this, that, and the other. And I tend not to want to do that. I want to go right into it. Why are
Mm.
you in Hong Kong? You've left the army. Why are you there?
I left the Marines after serving in the Northern Ireland conflict and training up there in the Arctic, and saw what you could say enough more action than you really need to see in a lifetime. I started a business with these people. The first time I've ever shown stuff on a podcast, Liam, but because I'm at home, I thought, why not? So I
Yeah.
started a network marketing company for Quorum International.
Yeah.
My company was called the Max Tech Group,
Right.
and we, by sheer almost like happenstance, but really working hard, we started the biggest network for Quorum International in Asia,
Mhm.
in the Asia Pacific basin. And we were the first ever, my actual network was the first one ever in mainland China. And it all collapsed, mate. I put my notice in. I served 18 months to leave the Marines. That's what my contract was. And by the time those 18 months had gone, I was on a train going up to, I think it was Gatwick, smoking a joint out the window of the train, thinking, and all the business had collapsed. It had all gone. And I was now £7,000 in debt.
Yeah.
And
But it
I'm
just
smoking this
collapsed
bit.
overnight. It just collapsed overnight.
I no, it what it was, and it really wasn't my fault. Although I kind of could have predicted this, but I don't care. I love life, mate. I got no regrets about anything I've ever done. I think you only learn by really screwing stuff up.
Yeah.
So I'm this massive damaged kiddie. I joined the Marines for a bet because someone told me I couldn't do it, and I was just like, "Don't you tell me what to do." So I went and joined the Marines, and I've been to a few parties over there. The 90s was the dance era, wasn't it?
Yes.
And we were out shaking a mean hoof, popping pills, and not nothing like ridiculous, but everyone I knew smoked dope. It was just the way it was, and I'd never really had a problem with it, Liam. Not the alcohol either, even though I've been drinking 9% homebrew since I was like 13 or something.
Really?
Uh, yeah, as my dad used to have it on tap, and at 15 we used to down pints of 9% standing in the fireplace in case we were sick.
Yeah.
So, cut long story short, I'm in this company. It's a crazy computer company. I'm supposed to be selling DRAM, dynamic random access memory, which is your memory
Yeah.
stuff that you stick in your computer. It used to sell like gold dust. I couldn't sell a single thing. I was the only Guilo, that's foreign ghost, that's the name the Cantonese give us, that could speak some of the language. The crazy boss I worked for, he thought this looked really good to have all these Guilos in the office looking, white and American and all this kind of stuff. And I worked with a schizophrenic guy called Neil Diamond. And one time I was taking a leak in the toilet on the floor below, and the door of the cubicle, I'm smelling this weird pungent smell, not an unpleasant smell, but a noticeable smell. And Neil comes out of the cubicle and he's like, Chris, come in here. I thought, yes, I'm going to get laid. No, I didn't. I thought, I'm going to get drugs, aren't I?
Yeah.
So I went in there, Liam, and he had this bit of silver foil, and he put this, looked like a tiny grain of rock salt, and he put it on, heated it up, and it slid down this foil, and it just gave off this vapor.
Yeah.
And I got this rolled up note that he shoved in my mouth, and I did that. I can't tell you what it was like because I know the certain channels that we
Yeah. You
broadcast
can't.
on,
Yeah.
you can't sound. But let's just talk about a completely different scenario about when I had this really nice apple once that, and I ate this apple, and when I went back to my desk at work, I'd found a key in the lock to my life. I just unreal, like the finest champagne, but without all that like woozy feeling when,
Yeah.
And what it was, then it was burying my trauma. That was it. I didn't know I was a traumatized person, but when I look back on what I went through, I was a massively damaged kiddie,
Yeah.
And this stuff, it made me feel the person I wanted to. It made me good at stuff. Like my sense of balance just become.
Does it make you sharper then? I mean,
Yeah.
not...
Some of the Grand Prix racing drivers used to inject the stuff before races.
Really?
Some famous ones that back in the 70s,
Yeah.
because it gives you razor focus.
Really?
I mean razor.
Yeah.
I used to one time I met this ballet dancer when I was working on the doors in the gangland in the gangland. The Hong Kong, you got one chai.
Yeah.
It's a gangland district. You're going to see some stuff kicking off there. It's run by the 14K, who were my employers.
Yes.
It's also, we'd call it the red light district, but it's the girly bars, and if you know where to go, you go home with a Filipino or a Thai girl or a fairly rough looking Chinese girl who's probably going to drug you and nick your wallet, right?
I asked, right? So you'd been like a Royal Marine Commando, right? Now you're on this meth. I mean, what was the point that you ended? Because I think my viewers really want to know about the triads and stuff like that. What was the point that you were homeless and then got a job on the door?
I used to go in this bodybuilding gym.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong, you could buy like Dianabol pills straight from the pharmacy and stuff. It was a bit mental. And I used to go in this big bodybuilding gym. It was just full of triads, like big guys with all these sprawling tattoos.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee would come on the telly and like everyone would stop, like a religion. Everyone would just put down their dumbbells and barbells and be staring like Easter Island statues at the TV while Bruce was on it.
Yeah.
And I loved it, mate. I felt, I just loved it. I wished I was in that culture. I wished I was an hard nut, young Hong Kong lad covered in tattoos and fighting with my gang.
Yeah.
Because I'd come from one gang, the military gang.
Yes.
Now I'm lonely. I'm on I'm miles away from home. I'm on a dodgy, bloody wicket. And so I'm doing some bench press one day, and some black lad from London, Milton, comes over. He says, "Mate, can you spot for us a sec?" So I'm, yeah, sure. I said, "Milt, where do you work, mate?" He says, "Doorman, mate, Joe Bananas. Do you want a job?" I said, "Could you get us one?" He's like, yeah, they're always looking for people. So that was my start in the nightclub district. For me, Liam, it was giving up the bullshit of lying to people in a suit, because that's basically what,
Yes.
business is. I was losing my young life. I wanted to get back. I thought, what do I know best? Security, having been in the Marines. Let's get a job on the... And my idea was I was going to leave, knock the drugs on the head, knock the meth on the head, but it didn't work like that. The very first night I worked, I remember going in the toilet. Somebody had given me some, I bought something off someone. I remember you could actually snort this stuff as well if you crushed it up into a fine powder, and you snort it, goes straight to the brain, like it's almost a instant, hugely hedonistic rush. And then I'd work on the door, and I loved it, mate. I mean, what I mean is I love being off my head, working as a doorman. I used to get all these compliments from people. I made so many friends. I'd have, like, the US Marines would come by and go, Chris, come to the consulate next week. We're having a party. And I'd get invited. Like, Hong Kong millionaires would be like, "Oh, there's our guy. Always lets us in for free. Chrissy, how are you, mate?" Peter Stuyvesant guys would come with 200 cigarettes and go, "There you go, Chris. There's a box for the staff." We'd give out like all this Marlboro. Anyway, cut long story short, I went to China, blagged my job as DJ at the biggest nightclub in southern China, then promptly managed to lose it again because I didn't understand the job description. I'm back in Hong Kong. And of course, the first thing I did is I went and looked for meth. It's just my time hadn't come yet, Liam, you know. And when I came back to Hong Kong and took it, I was in a shopping center with Vince, and I could hear voices, and everyone in the shopping center was talking about me.
Right.
And they go, Guilo, you know, Mo Fan Gong. Like the Guilo doesn't go to work. Sorry, my Cantonese is really rusty. You know, Guilo, Mo China, you know, the foreign devil doesn't have any money and all. And I'm like, Vince, why are they all talking about me? He's like, no, they don't talk about you. Quissa, do you want to go to the hospital? I'm like, Vince, what are you on about? Nothing wrong with me. And, you know, and my Chinese business partner had recognized that, you know, I wasn't very well.
Yes.
Next thing, I'm homeless on my backpack, on the Nathan Road in Hong Kong, which is Kowloon Peninsula, watching all these Mercedes and BMW and Rolls Royce drive by. And I'm just thinking, God, why don't someone just stop and say, hey, Sonny, you look like you're down on your luck. Come and have a start in my company. You know, I would have, even if they'd done that, Liam, I'd have lost that job within, you know, because I was massively in the throes of chronic addiction and psychosis by this stage. Mm-hmm. So then I'm wandering the streets, burned all my bridges, and the last thing I thought was I'd go and see a guy that I knew called Glenn, who worked in a club called Club Nemo. Okay. That's not his real name. That's the name. Anyone who's been in Hong Kong knows the club. There were two clubs actually I'm talking about. And I wandered down into this club. It's down the stairs and it's got mirrors all down the stairs, right? If you know your Hong Kong culture, you'll know that's feng shui. Not for like, you know, making you no, that's to reflect the evil spirits out of the place.
Okay.
Right. It's got the mountain, the Hong Kong mountains behind it, you know, way behind the city. It's got the water to the Hong Kong waterfront to the front of the building. That's for prosperity. Mountains behind, water to the front. That's why when you go in a Chinese restaurant, they have that tank of fish at the front and you can choose your fish.
Right.
It's all, you know, ancient superstition. So I wandered down into this club. Obviously, being a Chinese club, it's a triad run venture, but I was naive. I didn't know that. All the clubs I worked in, the three other clubs, were all run by Scottish people.
Bothered by the fact that, you know, it was triads that were running this club.
No, I loved it. I wandered in the club. Glenn had gone. Glenn had gone to he wasn't there. The Chinese barman just shook his head. So that was kind of like, I probably don't speak a lot of English or I'm not confident. He said, speak that man over there. And I turned across it to this bloke and he was dressed like in his black tie, black suit. It looked like Ratso Rizzo. If anyone remembers Midnight Cowboy.
Yes.
And I walked up to him, looked him in the eye. Well, his good eye. He had one eye looked northeast and the other one didn't. No disrespect to people who've got wonky eyes, but it was a bit disconcerting from this, you know. And I didn't realize I'm talking to the Dilo,
right? The
gang leader of that particular gang that runs that club and a couple of other clubs. This is an important man, right? I later got told by a dear old Chinese gentleman I used to go dancing with. He said, Mr. Sanso, very, very bad man, Chris. Very, very bad man, you know? So I said, where's my friend, Glenn? He said, Glenn gone. Glenn's gone to Thailand. You want job? You can do doorman job? I was like, yeah, I can do doorman job. He says, okay, start here tomorrow night, 8:00. I'm like, fucking hell, I'm back in a job. That's going to pay £1,000 a month, you know, 10,000 Hong Kong dollars, I think it was. I might have got the exchange rate wrong. Bloody hell. And on that journey, I'd hocked my first Rolex. It was just a something I bought myself after the Northern Ireland tour. And I used that money. I got this old tenement in this tenement block. I got the top floor flat, and it was just insane. It was crazy. There was like blood on the walls of this flat. It was decrepit. It was, you looked out the window and there was piles of litter where everyone just threw their rubbish out the windows. It was insanely decrepit, and I absolutely loved it because I was living like, it's like Bruce Lee time, you know, old school Hong Kong, you know, cats sleeping on the pavement, the chaps pushing the rubbish down the street with the bamboo hats on and all that kind of stuff, you know. Liam, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Used to go up on the roof of this building and practice my kung fu, and it was like thousands of old TV aerials all stomped down on this roof because of the typhoon. So anyway, I started in that club. The first night, this English guy shook me on the arm. "You're Chris, aren't you?" I thought, that's weird. He knows my name. I said, "Yeah, who are you?" He said, "Oh, I'm so-and-so. I'm working on a new airport." He said, "You know, they're all triads, don't you?" My ears are like, boop, because I had a fascination with the triads, didn't I, you know? And I'm like, "All right, tell me more." He said, "Well, your man there, Chu Chai, the short, stocky guy, he's Magi. He's errand boy." He said, "But don't be fooled. He might look nothing, but he's a street fighter through and through. He'll pick up anything in a scrap if he can smash someone over the head with it." And he said, "Your man there, the taller guy," and this guy was quite tall, it's Daisu. He's assassin. Every now and again, he'll disappear for a few days when they smuggle him over the border into China to do a hit on someone." So I'm like, wow. But it all went wrong, Liam. Because I'm off my head. I mean, I'm high every
Chris,
day.
when you said, it all went wrong, I just had a feeling that that's what you were going to say.
Well, I was lucky. They kept their distance from me.
Mm-hmm.
One expat said to me one day, "Chris, they think you're a copper."
Right.
I was, the paranoia was starting to flow through me, and the anxiety from, I wasn't sleeping for like up to 9 days at a time, wasn't eating anything. My weight just went, whoop, I went down. I went from like a 13-stone bodybuilder down to about probably 9.5, 10 stone.
Yeah. How does anybody stay up? It's a naive question, this, for like 9 days. How can you do that?
Because meth is so ridiculously strong, right? A lot of people can't. If you buy, let's say, a bag of Coke, you're going to do that in a nightclub on your own in an evening. Not suggesting you do, friends, but you might have a little bit left over the next day for a little sneaky one, right? You get a bag of crystal meth, you just need one of those little crystals to get you high as whatnot for hours and hours, and you've got a whole bag. I used to buy a gram, and it would last a week, Liam. I'm not exaggerating, but well, look, it's strong stuff. And
can I just say, Chris, and of course we do have to say we don't advise anybody to do this, of course.
No, I say to everyone, look, I live my life and I do it my way, and you should live yours, and we'll both be happy, won't we? Yeah.
So you were down to like 9 stone, right? I mean, can I just bring you back a bit? Did you ever see sort of incidents of violence in the club? Did they, did people come in the club, or the confrontations? What went on?
Yeah, I saw some insane stuff. One time I seen a Nepali boys, right? They all left the Gurkhas and that, and they'd gone to Hong Kong to chauffeur cars and that sort of stuff for Nepalese, and they'd end up addicted to number 4, which is pure white heroin that comes from the Golden Triangle. And these boys were, you didn't, they were savage. You didn't muck with them. I seen them walking down the street. Some of them were barefoot with chains, axes, and they were coming into Wan Chai, which is 14K territory. So it couldn't have been the 14K they were after, because axes or not, they would have got slaughtered. One of the first doormen to see him, or Magi, Little Horse, would just pick up his mobile or just text a code number or broadcast a code number. And that would then just go to every single doorman in the area. And you would just come running, right? It's the same when the Yank ships come in. If any of the Yanks kicked off, these boys would they just love to fight. And they were savage. They pick up anything. One time, expat slapped me around the face in the club. So as I launched off the chair to pan his face in, the boys behind the bar spotted and they're just the barman. Mm-hmm. They jump over the bar, knocking all the drinks everywhere. One of them grabs the ashtray on his way over. The other one's got the ice tongs, and it just becomes a standoff. And they are so enraged because you have Chinese face, right? It's called face. You never cross an Asian person. They won't let you forget it. And they will get they'll bide their time and they will get their revenge.